Pete Golding just does what he does, the making of a legend down in Oxford, Mississippi. Let's talk to the mayor of Corinth all about Dabo's press conference yesterday. This is the Locked On Ole Miss podcast.
You are Locked On Ole Miss, your daily podcast on the Ole Miss Rebels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the Locked On Ole Miss podcast, the most watched Ole Miss podcast out there. I'm your host, Stephen Willis, a 10-year veteran member of the national media with Yahoo Sports and a former Ole Miss staff member as well. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the number one podcast network, sports podcast network in America. Thank you for that. It's all because of fans like you watching content like this that can happen. On today's show, we're going to talk about Dabo Swinney's press conference with the mayor of Corinth, Tom Vanderford, and what everything's going. I like that Pete Golding put a shark out the next morning just to say, hey, it's business as usual. We're just going to go on living our life. But we'll talk about that. We'll talk about Ole Miss losing to Kentucky in Rupp Arena in a game that they played pretty hard, but we'll talk about that a little bit as well. All this and more on today's Locked On Ole Miss podcast. Remember, we're free and available in all the podcast apps and on YouTube, and a special hello to the insiders and everydayers who make the show what it is, and that is your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. It's the last call for football on FanDuel. Super Bowl in 2 weeks, NFC Championship, AFC Championship today. Check that out. Bet just $5 and get $200 back in bonus bets if you win. So, Tommy, one thing that's interesting to me, looking at what's going on, I have never seen a group of people cheerlead so much for an outcome because of one side of the story that couldn't be proven got released. And it's just another example of, quote, journalist taking exactly what somebody says and running with it as if it was true. When the reality is there's one side, there's another side, and then there's the truth. So there's no way, there's a 0% chance with Dabo Swinney presented yesterday happening.
Oh, I completely agree. I think anybody with a fully functioning brain feels the same way. I hate it went down like it did, and I hate that all these national pundits got a hold of it and start trying to ostracize Ole Miss. It seems like it's all like Romero Miller put on Twitter today. It's always Ole Miss against everybody else,
It's the same playbook every single time. Does everybody remember the Sugar Bowl with Chad Kelly when Ole Miss finally made it back to that point and everybody was excited and everybody was celebrating? What happened within like 3 days of that Sugar Bowl? The NCAA stuff broke from national pundits and stuff like that. It's the playbook. We're going to use the NCAA to take down Ole Miss because they're an easy target and they think that the NCAA will do the job. They're doing the same thing this time, but the reality is this time everything's much more public than that stuff was, and there's zero to no chance that anything is going to come from this other than some sort of a slap on the wrist.
Oh, yeah. And listen, you know how news cycles are. In another week, it'll be something else.
Like an ice storm that is gripping the whole country. Like that's going to be the talking point and everything's going to go away. But the reality of this is it was all a bunch of bloviating stuff that could be outright lies for all we know. There is no physical evidence producing, and the text message that they built the whole thing around, Clemson doesn't have it.
Right.
And so that tells you that all of this was a PR press conference thing and hoping that national media would take the chance to do this because there's no substance there.
Oh, none at all. None at all.
Absolutely terrible. Well, it looks like Pete Golding put out a shark yesterday morning. By now you might know who the commit is, but by the time of recording, we do not at this point. But it is nice to know that Pete Golding's just doing his job when everything's going on, because I'm going to be honest, in a previous regime, not too long ago, if something like this went out, there would be a 48-hour Twitter time that you're just paying attention to what he's saying. He's not paying attention to what he had to do, and there's no chance probably that a commit would happen today anyway.
Oh, correct. Correct. I mean, yeah, it's just not sour grapes that I say this, but now that we've pulled the Lane Kiffin bandage off, I'm really enjoying this ride with Pete.
Yeah, he has had, and I've said this multiple times on the podcast, over the last 2 months, he hasn't put a step wrong. Now, he's probably made some enemies. He's probably made some enemies over the top, but for Ole Miss fans, I cannot imagine a more beloved figure than Pete Golding right now. If everything Dabo said was true, 100% factual, which it was not, Pete Golding left that press conference more of a star at Ole Miss than he went into it. And that's just the truth.
Yeah. He's our scumbag coach. You know?
And he's not going to take anything from you. He's going to say what's on his mind. He's going to do whatever it takes to win the game. He actually said in a press conference when all this started, I don't care if I'm playing tennis with my wife. I'm going to beat your ass.
Exactly.
That's what he said. And he is going out and living every bit of that. And Ole Miss fans are here for it. They just are.
Yep. And I think people are finding out that Ole Miss is going to survive in the portal way past Kiffin, and that maybe everything was not Lane Kiffin's doing, but Walker and the other guys, Keith Carter, and that operations team we've got. I think, of course, the LSU folks are crazy about Glasscock now, but I think we won that battle with Thomas and Glasscock. I just, anybody can be good when you're throwing out $40-50 million.
Yeah, they're still not even guaranteed that they're going to throw up something better than a 9-3 during the season.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah. Well, Ole Miss fans have been here before with people. It's like, oh, they signed the #1 class in the country.
Yeah.
Spending millions upon millions of dollars. There's no way this can go wrong. And then you lose to 1-7 Kentucky at home.
Exactly.
It just happens. And the quietest #2 in the transfer portal, might be Ole Miss.
Yeah.
And Pete and them have done a heck of a job in the portal. Like I said, they haven't put a step wrong throughout all of this. And I, for one, am extremely proud. And after what Ole Miss fans have been through for the better part of about 15 years, it's nice to at least have somebody in that position that you feel like will fight for you. And that's what he's doing.
Exactly.
So we'll see. When we come back, we are going to talk a little bit about the basketball game. Ole Miss lost the game to Kentucky in Rupp Arena. We'll talk with the mayor of Corinth right after this and talk all about that. Last call for football is the Super Bowl. One final Sunday, one last kickoff, one final chance to get in on the action before the NFL season officially comes to a close. This is Super Bowl 60 coming up, and FanDuel is making sure you're right in the middle of it with a special offer just in time for the biggest game of the year. Whether you're backing the favorite, riding the underdog, or building one last same-game parlay, this is the last game everybody's been waiting for. This is where predictions turn into plays, stats turn into storylines, and every snap becomes bigger. It is the perfect way to cap off the season and make the Super Bowl even more exciting from kickoff to the final whistle. If you're a new customer, bet just $5 and get $200 in bonus bets. If you win, make it count, because after the Super Bowl, the season is over. Last call for football on FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of Super Bowl 60. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. And this is Mazda's moving the game forward. For those of you who show there's more to the score than what is on the screen. AJ Storr for Ole Miss men's basketball, his move to the sixth man has jump-started his game, and he is becoming the undisputed leader of this Ole Miss basketball team. These reminders of what it really takes to raise the bar. It's the extra work that is paying off the court, dialing in every detail, giving it that extra fire, that grit, and that I never quit. They really fought hard against the Kentucky Wildcats and Rupp. That's a hard place to play. We put the same passion into every model. Highlights that make the real what it took to get there makes it count. That is more. There's more to a Mazda because there's more to you. That is Mazda.com. Do us a favor, like, subscribe, and comment on the video. Subscribe to the podcast on whichever audio podcast you're listening to and give it a 5-star review. Cost absolutely nothing, but it keeps all of this free. Thank you for making Locked On Ole Miss your first listen of the day, and thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network in America. You already live your team every single day. Now you can take it up a level and go ad-free. Join the Everydayer Club and get Locked On Ole Miss with no interruptions, members-only Discord access, and more, all for just $5 a month or $50 per year. Go to lockedonolemist.supercast.com or check out the link down in the show notes below to learn more. And if you want to go all access, really go all in with Locked On Ole Miss, you can. We have Coach Corey Burton doing video breakdowns. Right now, there's a video breakdown on Luke Farrelly and what he brings to the Ole Miss team, complete with player video and all of that stuff. We have Dalen Flowers. We have Mike Huseman. We are putting out content all the time, so you can check that out as well. All right, Tom. One thing that was interesting in this basketball game, the Auburn game was an effort problem. They just didn't play hard enough. You could just visually look at it. They got bullied a little bit. Against Kentucky, the playing hard was there. They just didn't make the timely shots in that game, and that's what cost them against the Kentucky Wildcats in Rupp Arena.
Oh, I agree. We hung in there till the end. They pulled away a little bit there at the end, but that happens a lot in basketball. And we just we had huge expectations. So did Kentucky, and I still think they're trying to find the heartbeat of this team. I think today answered some questions. I think Storr is awesome. I think that they just have to go out there and start playing maybe not their most talented five, but their five that want to play and want to hustle.
Yeah, and you saw Zach Day played again against the Kentucky Wildcats. You saw a lot better effort from the big men. I'm not going to fault effort at all.
No.
You could watch the game and tell they were playing hard. So it's not that. It was just when Ole Miss needed a timely shot, something happened. There's a turnover on that possession, or they just couldn't get the basket when they drove. Honestly, it was the typical Rupp Arena thing that happens to Ole Miss from time to time. I've seen that game probably 50 times in my lifetime. So when you look at what went on in that game, I think there's something to build off of, but the schedule gets a lot more difficult moving forward.
Oh, yeah.
Home games against Vanderbilt, playing Alabama. There's a chance for this season to kind of go off the rails a little bit.
Yeah, there is. And, our coach is going to have to do a great coaching job. And his team has to start doing what they need to succeed. They got to start, playing better together as a team, hustling. Today was a good, or against Kentucky was a very good example of how they need to go forward.
All right, so before we get out of here, I've got to know, because we are in ice apocalypse right now, how is Corinth dealing with the ice right now, and what's the forecast for them? We're recording this at roughly around 12:30 on Saturday. How does it look for Corinth moving forward?
It's supposed to, it hasn't been super bad. It definitely hasn't been anything like 94, but supposedly tonight and tomorrow it's gonna get rough. So everybody that's going through this, just do what I'm doing. Stay inside.
Yeah, seriously. There's no reason to go anywhere.
Nope.
Hopefully everybody prepared for what's going on, although I can guarantee that somebody didn't. But hopefully they did. And if that happens, you need to find, and hopefully you live on a dirt road, because the surefire way to beat ice is gravel.
Yep.
So we'll see exactly what's going on. Tom, be safe during all of this, and we'll talk to you next week, buddy.
Yes, sir. Hotty toddy.
All right. Hotty toddy. Thanks for tuning into the Locked On Ole Miss podcast. We're going to continue to talk transfer portal all weekend, all week long, to make sure you subscribe and follow the show so you can get all the latest episodes. We're on all the social channels, so check that out as well. You never miss an episode. The Everydayer Club is built for you. Get Locked On Ole Miss ad-free, plus members-only Discord access, and more. Head to lockedonolemess.supercast.com to join the club. For those of you on video, we're going to send you to the first ever 24/7 National Locked On Podcast Network YouTube channel. On audio, make sure your second listen is Locked On College Football or Locked On SEC. Hotty toddy, everybody, and we're almost at the end of the transfer portal, and an unbelievable cycle it has been for Ole Miss. So we will talk to you later. Hotty toddy, everybody.